Welcome to Live Interactive English. My name is Winnie.
And I'm Matt.
And today our article is called A Day with the Tsou Community in Danayiku, Part 1. Matt, do you know where Danayiku is?
Of course I do. You don't?
Can you please help us?
Okay. Danayiku is a place in Chiayi. And it's a nature reserve, and it's kind of close to where Alishan is, in that part of Chiayi. Chiayi County, not Chiayi City.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Okay, so we're going to be learning about the Tsou community or the aboriginal community.
Right, so the Tsou community is one of the aboriginal communities of Taiwan.
Right, or the indigenous communities. So they are the native people of that area. In fact, actually, I am part indigenous. However, we found that we were the indigenous plains people. So I actually don't know what tribe or community I come from. So maybe it's the Tsou community.
Really? Well, I think are you from Elan? It's kind of the wrong part of the island, I think.
maybe they took a bus ride.
Okay, all right, maybe. All right, yeah, so the Tsou community is one of the 16 aboriginal groups of Taiwan. And actually, all aboriginal people in Taiwan are Austronesian people. And Austronesian people are all over, well, many parts of the world because they all originated from Taiwan and spread to places like Philippines and even places as far as New Zealand and Hawaii.
Yeah, so we're talking Maori people, Samoans, and just these people, you know, they like to say that they came from Taiwan almost, right? And so actually nowadays you'll see that in a lot of the languages, a lot of the traditions, there are a lot of similarities. But I'm excited to get into today's article, A Day with the Tsou Community in Danayiku, Part 1.
On a sunny November morning, our car wound its way up the twists and turns of Provincial Highway 18. The scenery became greener as we climbed higher. Then, a right turn took us down a narrow road into the Dongwon River Valley and toward the Danayiku Nature Ecological Park. When we arrived at the park, we sat in a performance hall and listened to a short history of Danayiku and Shinmei village. We also learned how the people of Shinmei, all members of the Tsou community, take turns doing different roles to keep the park running. Then, we were treated to Tsou songs and dances that were performed by young villagers.
Let's get this article started. A Day with the Tsou Community in Danayiku, Part 1.
All right, so this article is written from the perspective of the writer. The writer is telling us their personal experience of what they did.
Right, so first person.
On a sunny November morning, our car wound its way up the twists and turns of Provincial Highway 18.
Wow, so we have the word wound, which means we know that this is not a straight road.
Right, when you wind something, or wound in the past tense, to wind is to put something around something else. So you can, wind. What do you wind? You
can wind up a toy.
That's right. By turning it around and around, you wind up a toy that moves.
Right.
All right, we have another word there, which is twist. So a lot of words here that indicate this is not a straight road.
Yeah.
So a twist, and we often put that together with twist and turn, as they did here, means not straight or curving in a way. So to twist can mean moving in a spiral way. So if you think of, sometimes on a fancy drink, you'll take a bit of lemon peel and twist it and put it in for a little bit of decoration.
Twist your hair.
So you can create a twist. So for example, there were many twists and turns in the path as it went through the forest.
Right, so these twists and turns let us know that this is not an easy drive. So continuing on, the scenery became greener as we climbed higher. So when we're talking about scenery, we're talking about the view. We're talking about the things that we're looking in our environment. And we're noticing in this case that it became greener, and greener, we're not talking, just the color. We are talking about the color, but in the sense that we're talking about, for example, trees, leaves, and the nature. Everything becomes greener. So in another instance, we're talking about there's a lot more, nature involved. So, continuing on, then a right turn took us down a narrow road into the Tsou River Valley and toward the Danayiku Nature Ecological Park.
Okay, so it's not just a park, it's a nature ecological park.
And what's the difference?
Well, this word ecological means related to ecology. And ecology is the study of how living things relate to each other and the environment around them.
Right, okay, so it's all about the relationships within the animals and the plants.
Yes, that's right.
Cool.
When we arrived at the park, we sat in a performance hall and listened to a short history of Danayiku and Shinmei village.
Okay, so they kind of get to an introduction to the history. Okay, so we have a word village, which is our noun, and it basically just means a group of houses in a smaller area. And this area is smaller than a town, okay? So for example, Jimmy grew up in a small village. So obviously we know this is not a big city. Okay, yeah. Continuing on, we also learned how the people of Shinmei, all members of the Tsou community, take turns doing different roles to keep the park running. And of course, roles meaning everyone has a job. Everyone has their own tasks that they need to do.
That's right. Then we were treated to Tsou songs and dances that were performed by young villagers.
What a treat!
Sounds very nice. So these songs and dances were performed by the young villagers. To perform means to give a presentation to an audience, usually for entertainment. So usually it's something like singing or dancing or acting or having a concert, a rock concert. These are all kinds of performances where the people in them are performing.
Right, and they are the performers.
That's also true. So another example, Sandra loves to perform in front of people.
Right, so Sandra herself is a performer because she is performing. I would totally love to go to see these performances. I feel like they are such talented people.
Yeah, it already sounds like an interesting experience to go into this, nature area with lots of trees and lots of greenery and probably lots of interesting even animals and wildlife to see.
Yeah.
And not only see that, but also get to see a village with locals who are doing things in a local way that they are used to, and then they can share their local culture with you as well through things like these performances.
Well, and so as you were saying, clearly to the Tsou people, the ecological park, nature is very important to the Tsou people, and so much so that they even incorporate it into, how they welcome the tourists and the travelers who are going to the Danayiku Ecological Park. And I am very excited to learn more about it after the break.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这两天要读的文章是以作者的第一视角来写的，我们就要跟着作者来一趟达纳伊谷一日游。好，先补充一下 ，Matt 老师在讲到第一视角时，他用到 perspective 这个字 ，Perspective， 它可以指观点、角度或是看法。好，那我们来看看文章。作者就写到说，在11月的一个阳光明媚的早晨，他们的车子沿着曲折的台18线蜿蜒前行，一路往上爬升，那景色就变得越来越绿。接着右转，他们沿着一条狭窄的道路进入曾文溪谷，前往达纳伊谷自然生态公园。好，那我们来看到 ecological 这个字，它可以形容生态的、生态学的。它的名词 ecology， 它可以指生态或是生态学。那刚刚说沿着曲折的台18线蜿蜒前行，文中用到 wound 这个字，它是 wind 的过去式。wind 当动词表示蜿蜒前进，那动词三态是 wind, wound, wound。再来看到单字 twist 是当名词，可以表达急转弯或者是意想不到的转折。我们可以用 twist and turn 来指这个道路或河流蜿蜒曲折。好，再来 Matt 老师他刚刚解释单字时有用到 spiral 这个字 ，spiral，spiral 可以形容是螺旋形的。 好，那么作者接着提到，他们到了公园，坐在表演厅里面，听着达纳伊谷和那边邹族传统村落的简史，了解他们如何轮流担任不同的角色来维持这个公园的运作。还有呢，他们还欣赏由年轻村民表演的邹族歌舞。来看到单字 village 是指村庄、村子。Perform 这个动词则表示表演，它还有表现、执行的意思。那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。这边我们来学习 keep 加受词加受词补语，这是表达使什么保持怎么样的状态。那么 keep 在这边就是表达使维持处于某状态，受词后面要接补语来说明它的状态。那这个受词补语就可以用到形容词、现在分词 VING、过去分词 PP 或者是介系词片语。我们造2个例句。John keeps himself fit by swimming. John 借由游泳让自己维持身体强健。I'll keep you posted 就是我会让你随时得知最新情况的。好，那这回到课文中。
Afterward, we met up with a guide who showed us around the park. In a low bamboo house with a grass roof, he described how the Tsou used to live.It was interesting to see the men's hunting tools and the household items that were used by the women. Leaving the house behind, we walked toward the river with our guide. He pointed out all the different kinds of plants and explained what they're used for.
Welcome back from the break. Before the break, we learned about a place called the Danayiku Ecological Park. And for those of you at home who maybe have a car, you might have heard this place because if you take the Provincial Highway 18, you could access this great place full of nature, and not only nature, but the Tsou community. Okay, so it's actually in Chiayi County, not Chiayi City. And they have music, culture, nature. What more could you want?
That's right. So before the break, we were reading this article, which is written from the writer's personal perspective of what they did in the park.
Right.
So let's continue on to find out more. Afterward, we met up with a guide who showed us around the park.
Right. And actually, I just want to cut in really quickly because here we see the word guide. And usually when we use it as a verb, it means to kind of let someone follow you and you kind of bring them around. But we're actually using guide as a noun to talk about a person, a special person, right? And they make sure these tourists or travelers know, hey, this is the history of what I am showing you.
That's right. And when used as a noun, guide is not always a person. It can also be a book or even an article on the internet that you read. That could be a travel guide to a certain area.
Exactly.
Okay, we have another word here, which is afterward. We opened this part with afterward, and it means at a later time or coming in the future. So when they began this paragraph with afterward, they mean at a later time than what happened before, which was the singing and dancing performed by the Tsou children.
Right. They had the songs, the dance of the Tsou people. And so we already had that happen. So afterward is talking about what happened after.
So, for example, for lunch, I had a burger. Afterward, I went shopping for new clothes.
Oh, fun day. So continuing on with the article, in a low bamboo house with a grass roof, he described how the Tsou used to live. Tsou people, right? Their lifestyle, how they used to live. So maybe a lot of the Tsou community don't live the same way as their ancestors or the people before them lived. But he is seeing how they used to live. Okay? It was interesting to see the men's hunting tools and the household items that were used by the women. So here there's kind of they've kept everything the same so that people who are traveling to see all of these, lifestyles that the Tsou community, they lived through.
So we talked about the household items. So a household is the home and all of the people that live within a home. So when we talk about the household items, we're talking about those items that are commonly used by the people who live within a home, and they're used within the home. So we can talk about things like furniture or cooking utensils or cleaning things. Those would all be items you find within the household and are used within the household, so they are household items.
Like everyday things, right? Okay. So we also have the word bamboo, our noun, and it is basically a type of giant grass that grows in the tropics, so usually Asia. And bamboo can actually be eaten. But before it was also, and actually nowadays still, they are still used to build things like structures and even furniture. You know, you can see on sometimes some construction sites, they will make...
If you go to Hong Kong, you'll very commonly see them using bamboo on the outside of buildings as scaffolding to build new buildings.
Right, exactly. Or ladders. Or even nowadays, maybe they just like the look of some bamboo tables. So this is an example sentence. Bamboo is strong and grows very fast. In fact, that is actually true. Bamboo is known to be very, you know, within one day it could grow inches. Yeah.
Leaving the house behind, we walked toward the river with our guide. He pointed out all the different kinds of plants and explained what they're used for.
That's so cool. I love it when a guide is just knows a lot of stuff.
Has all the information, because usually you just go, that's a plant, that's a plant, that's a plant. But when your guide can tell you, oh, that's the plant we use for this.
Right.
This is bamboo, which we use for building our homes. It gives you a lot more information about the local area.
Yeah, because it's important to know what the species of the plant is for, but to see how the Tsou community used those plants and everything, now that is pretty cool. Now, you guys at home, hopefully you guys will take a little day trip to Chiayi County and visit the Tsou people.
All right, yeah, well, we've still got more of our article. We've got part 2 coming next time, and we will see you then.
好，作者写到说，后来他们跟一位导游碰面，那么导游带他们参观公园，在一间低矮的草屋顶竹屋里面，他描述了邹族过去的生活方式，看到男子的狩猎工具，还有女子使用的家居用品，他们觉得很有趣。那离开房子之后，他们就跟着导游一起向河边走去。导游有指出所有不同种类的植物，还解释了它们的用途。好，来看单字 afterward。afterward 这个副词呢，它表示之后、后来。那另外一个拼法就是在后面加上 s afterwards。再来看到 bamboo， 它是竹子。Winnie 老师在解释单字时有提到 the tropics。the tropics 就是热带。那么 Matt 老师则提到竹子做的鹰架。那么 scaffolding 就是鹰架。我们再看到补充单字 household 它是形容家用的、家庭的。那在讲到家用品的时候 Matt 老师他有提到 utensil 这个字 utensil utensil 它可以指厨房或家用的用具啊、器皿。好，那这边2个重点，我们进入文法时间。我们来看第一个重点是 used to， 它是指过去一向怎么样，过去曾经怎么样，用来表示过去曾发生或存在的情况，暗示现在情况已经有所不同。那 used to 后面要接原形动词，例如 I used to drink coffee every morning。我以前每天早上都会喝咖啡，现在没有这个习惯了。那第2个重点是分词构句的用法。对等连接词 and 在连接主词相同的2个子句时，我们可以省略掉连接词 and 还有其中一句的主词，再把那个省略主词后面的那个子句的动词改为分词。主动的话就是改现在分词 VING， 被动的话就是把 be 动词改成 being， 然后再进一步省略，只留下过去分词 PP。举例来说 She was moved by the story and she decided to adapt it into a movie。 受到那个故事感动，她决定将它改编成电影。我们省略掉连接词 and 还有前半句的主词，然后把这个 be 动词 was 改成现在分词 being 还可以省略，那就只留下 moved， 所以这个句子就变成 moved by the story. She decided to adapt it into a movie. 好，那么以上今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
On a sunny November morning, our car wound its way up the twists and turns of Provincial Highway 18. The scenery became greener as we climbed higher. Then, a right turn took us down a narrow road into the Dongwon River Valley and toward the Danayiku Nature Ecological Park. When we arrived at the park, we sat in a performance hall and listened to a short history of Danayiku and Shinmei Village. We also learned how the people of Shinmei, all members of the Tsou community, take turns doing different roles to keep the park running. Then, we were treated to Tsou songs and dances that were performed by young villagers. Afterward, we met up with a guide who showed us around the park. In a low bamboo house with a grass roof, he described how the Tsou used to live. It was interesting to see the men's hunting tools and the household items that were used by the women. Leaving the house behind, we walked toward the river with our guide. He pointed out all the different kinds of plants and explained what they're used for.
Hey, 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 it's Kiwi on the street.
I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie.
Oh, it's like an oven out here.
Oven? No, I didn't bring any flour or sugar. It's not like an oven.
No, we're not baking. I'm describing how hot it is today.
Oh.
It's so hot, it's like an oven.
It's one of your phrases that you like to use.
That's right.
I guess that's what we're working on today. Okay, everyone, let's work on some phrases. Our first one is
惹怒某人.
So we have push somebody's buttons or pull somebody's buttons.
I think it's push.
Pull somebody's buttons.
Push somebody's buttons.
I think it's the first one.
First one.
Yeah, push somebody's buttons.
And let's see if you're right. Ding, ding, ding. Very good. Push someone's buttons. Okay, we have our...
Okay, 开玩笑的，说着玩的.
Okay, so tongue in mouth or tongue in cheek.
I think it's the second one, tongue in cheek.
Tongue in cheek.
Tongue in mouth.
Tongue in cheek.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to change?
No.
Good thing you didn't listen to me
Oh.
because you're correct. Tongue in cheek. What have we learned today?
Today we learned some new phrases, so let's check them out. To push somebody's buttons means to do or say something that immediately triggers the other person's emotions or make them respond strongly. You can imagine pushing the button on a machine to trigger it to start or do something. And if you kept pushing someone's buttons, it would definitely annoy them a lot and make them angry. Our second phrase is tongue in cheek. This means that something should not be taken seriously or it is a joke. It refers to the action when somebody pushes their tongue in their cheek. Pushes their tongue in their cheek. When you have your tongue in your cheek, you're clearly not able to speak with a straight face, suggesting that what was said can't be taken seriously. That's all for Kiwi on the Street. Kiwi later.